Do we peek?
Do it again.
Peek?
Do it again. That should work.
All right.
Are we ready?
Kick it off, homeboy.
All right,
Get it.
brother. Here we go. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today. You are listening to Hanging with the Honchos with DJ Iche and Ryan from Detroit. We appreciate you being here. What is going on? Brother man.
How are you, buddy? How's it going? How was your weekend? How was Easter?
Dude, Easter was fantastic. We ate some grub. We built some bikes. My kids got bikes. That's a long story, but they needed bikes. And some hammocks, bro. So yeah, I spent most of Saturday putting that stuff together for the kids, getting things ready with my wife, and then Sunday just celebrating the birth and resurrection of Jesus, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird, right? No family this time. At least my family didn't come by. You guys have a different situation there. But my mom and dad did come by and hit a bunch of eggs like in our landscaping. So
That's
Easton
cool.
could go run around and go find eggs. He had a good time. It was cool. It was
Super
really
cool because he can run around on his own now and do that kind of thing,
Yep, absolutely.
which is crazy. So hey, bro, today we're going to talk a little bit about something that is, I think, near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's LinkedIn, right? We can
Yep.
really talk about some LinkedIn.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, I don't know where we're going to go with this because I don't think we have like a topic and then we just roll with it, which is fine. But LinkedIn is interesting because you always hear like a lot of these people that are social influencers, people talk about LinkedIn's like the new Facebook of, I don't know, 8 years ago, whatever it is. And you, in particular, we hinted this in our first meeting, our first podcast. You have made a career out of being the LinkedIn guru. In fact, you're like kind of the LinkedIn guru within our current company. So I don't know if you want to talk about that
That's
a little bit.
interesting. Sure.
Tell them what you've been doing over there.
So I have to preface it though, bro, because like everything you and I talk about, I would say 100% of my focus on social media is to somehow bring value to people. And what most people probably don't know if they follow me on LinkedIn and see all the Ryan from Detroit stuff is they probably don't know that I've never monetized it. Like most people get an influence and then they monetize it and turn it into some kind of money, right? They get a paycheck. For me,
Yep.
I look at the value as kind of a give, and then watching people's lives be changed or people be inspired or come to faith or like get a better job and like somehow we have a small part in that. Like I truly see that as the value and I trust God to work out the rest. So I'll start with saying that like that is the focus for real. That's the focus of this show for us, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so I don't know where we're going to go with this, but LinkedIn is interesting because we'll go down this path first.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is, I think a lot of people treat LinkedIn like an online social resume, right? Like, oh, here they have all these titles and all these weird things, which is fine, right? Because it is in some way people are looking for some of that. But LinkedIn is so much more than that. And this is where you've done a great job, kind of changing the game a little bit in the background. You can talk about how you've done that, but it is social media at the end of the day. It's social media with a different lens maybe than what Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, whatever does, but it's social media. And so using LinkedIn to give your customers a glimpse behind the curtain of who you are outside of like your sales job or your manager job or whatever is really the beauty of it because like I know what you and I are doing. I know that people that are maybe engaged with me in current work or people that I just maybe want to talk to in the future, what I do on there, I'm hoping they get a glimpse of like, oh, this guy's real. This guy isn't some like just sales guy, or this guy isn't just like some goofball. This guy's real. And it's like, okay, I want next time you reach out to them, yeah, let's talk. I've seen your videos. Like you've had that happen several times where they're like, oh, I've seen your video. So touch on that a little bit. Touch on like how you've used LinkedIn to close the gap between two strangers talking to this.
Yeah. I would say I've done a lot of that through video. I would also say from a reach standpoint, as you and I both know, views and just true like metrics or vanity metrics as people call it, like text posts, even without images, without video, those do far greater, far better than a lot of the video posts do from a purely like vanity metric standpoint. But when you're actually looking to add value to people and build relationships, putting yourself out on video allows people to have a comfort that grows with knowing who you are. So I kid you not, I've been in coffee shops and things like that where people have come up and said, "Hey, Ryan from Detroit, how's it going? I love your videos. You don't know who I am." And it's not, I mean, the celebrity stuff and influence stuff, like that can get weird and like to your head. But for me, it's more of like, I come into most conversations pretty comfortable. If you talk to my friends and family, and my wife especially, she's like, call it a social butterfly, whatever you will. But I come into those conversations and try to break down those walls immediately because I'm thinking, how can I help these people regardless? And it's the same thing on the LinkedIn side and through the video side. So people will come up, it's like those walls are already broken down and you just start talking to them really comfortably, and it drives a level of comfort for them as well. So I would say from the video standpoint, that has been key in building relationships. If you really want to go sideways on this, we could probably get off into like how you and I are both working for a software company now because of like that start two and a half years ago, right?
Yeah, so actually I do want to go there in a second, but along with what you were saying, similar to what you're talking about, like in previous job, and we'll get to the job transition in a second, I'd walk the halls at Ford, I'd walk the halls at the SAE conferences, and people stop me and be like, "Hey, you're the guy who makes the videos." And I can't tell if they're making fun of me or if they're like, "This is awesome" or not. But nonetheless, they know it. And like now you've introduced an opportunity for a conversation, right? Whether that be business or just personal, that's fine. And so that's the beauty of like the whole video side of things, because a lot of people aren't doing video on there, especially when we're in automotive. Like that's such I guess a slower adapting of technology area. And it was cool. And people are like, "Oh, you're the guy making video." And I'm like, "Hey, what's up? Nice to meet you." Shake your hand before COVID-19, if we can even shake hands anymore. That's a different conversation.
I'm shaking hands.
But it just is really cool to do that. And then you meet people through it. You shake my hand?
I'll shake
hands.
Yeah.
You shake hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, just closing that gap, right? And then now we're in pure sales. And even then, I know some customers or prospects I'm talking to are like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I saw your video. Happened on my call Friday." Bigger team was there. They're like, "Oh, Eric," and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've seen you on LinkedIn." I'm like, "Oh, keep following me. Like, you're in for some fun stuff." Knowing we're making the singing video that's about to go on in a little bit, but I know when our customers see that, they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, who is this guy?" And I hope that if they get the right mindset, it'll add some relatability to our conversations. That's some of the bridging of the gap. There's more value, I know, but that's like the gap side of things.
I think it's a huge value add for any company or any person, really. I mean, I started the path on LinkedIn for very specific, like personal reasons. I was unhappy in my current job. So people think in their mind when I say that, like, of course, they're like, "Of course you go on LinkedIn." But I like to joke, and you and I joke about this a lot, like LinkedIn as a platform, when you use it just for job search or like seeing what's out there, I think there's frustration points for every professional at some point, unless you just absolutely love what you're doing, period, which is the case for me at Anaplan now, where we work on the software side. But before that, like every once in a while when you got frustrated with a manager or leader for being kind of whatever to you, like you almost like go onto LinkedIn and you're just like almost out of spite, like I'm going to see what's out there, right? but for me, I used that, and I discovered video relatively early on the platform, and I used my cell phone, and we should have like a whole nother series where we show some gear and stuff and talk to people about how to get there. But I just set little milestones in my own head of like, if I'm still interested in this after 5 videos on my phone, and if I see people reciprocating and saying, "Hey, I see the value," or responding to it, I will keep going if it feels right. So that was kind of the start of the path there. It can be a long road, and you build up a following and metrics and relationships, but man, those are crazy times, dude. You remember, like, I would put my wife and kids to bed, I'd get to editing, I'd get to posting, and I would get on phone calls, like DMs, text messages, group chats with people all the way as far as like Australia and Singapore, all over the place, just literally accelerating relationship building.
That's actually a good pivot conversation, because I talked about like closing that gap. What you're talking about is the back end of that. People saw you as Ryan from Detroit, the sales guy with the sales tip series you were doing, all that stuff. And people were either hitting you up around like, "Hey, what gear are you using?
Yep.
How do you make videos?" Or they're asking you around sales tips, or can you connect me with people? Like out of you making little videos with a theme and having some fun and doing it well, so it was coordinated well and edited well and music was there and blah, blah, blah. People caught their attention, and then they started pinging you in the background, and you did the same thing. If you connected with somebody, you hit them up and you start, But people are like, if they, the first thing you do, connection request. What's the first thing they do? They come back and go, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then they look at you, and the first thing they see is these videos. They're like, what the heck? And they accept, right? And then they start talking, and then all these things come out of it. So like, talking about what you did at night after you put the kids to bed and your wife went to bed, what are some of the things like what came out of that for you?
Oh, dude, relationships that have lasted to today. And I guess it's interesting to look at the point where I'm like bouncing around as we often do. But if you look at me, like you and I working in the technology space now and literally working in the software technology world and trying to go back into the industry that we've supported, but also other adjacent industries, that literally started from a contact that I made over LinkedIn, had no idea who it was. We ended up growing to know each other through content, right? And then when I ended up in Chicago, reached out, we grabbed dinner together, and I felt compelled to help this guy. Like, hey, let me go and ask some of my colleagues and industry professionals about your startup and the value that you have, because I literally was thinking in my mind, not like I want to go work for this guy or I want to go help him sell. It was, how can I help add value to his current situation? Because I think there's something there that can help him accelerate. So I went and asked those questions, and through a series of questions with local like colleagues and like professionals, I ended up getting to a person at the current company I'm at, who we're both buddies with now, who got on the phone with me, and 20 minutes in, I don't know if he saw my content or not, I should ask him, but 20 minutes in, he's like, you should come work for us. We need people with skill sets and like the capability that you bring, and the light and the lightheartedness that you bring to the table and how you work with people and are open with people. We need that here. And that's really, there's a lot of steps in between, but that literally happened because I was committed to making LinkedIn video to add value, to accelerate relationship building. And there was one point actually where through that series of like videos and content creation and reaching out to people, I actually had a soft offer from LinkedIn, the company, that we kind of mutually went our separate ways, but it just wasn't the right timing or the right fit, believe it or not. We could talk about that another time too, but just opportunities started coming, and I knew my purpose was greater than just another job. Even though I had a ton of opportunity, you've had a ton of opportunity come too. So it just facilitated that conversation, man, and allowed me to build relationships with people that I would, and I remember this, I would never have met or talked to or crossed paths with in the automotive world, which was like number two. Like the first one was, I need to scratch a personal itch on the creative side. And I think LinkedIn's a great spot to do it because it's a green space. But number two is, I want to reach out outside of my automotive because I wanted to know the people that were also creating, that were at tech startups. Like I love those ecosystems. And I want to be a part of it at some point in the future, so I could have some future foresight on that. So that was, that LinkedIn did that for me.
Well, and the key part is, right, I mean, like the first step is the outreach, is look at the video, right? That's like the attention grabber, if you want to be like blunt about it. Not that that's what it's more of a scratching an itch. It's something we enjoy to do. It's your attention, but your basis, your foundation was always in the interest of adding value and building organic, real relationships with strangers, right? And through that, natural stuff comes out of it. I mean, if you think about before all this social media stuff happened, for the most part, you wanted to find a job, right? You usually like a neighbor or your uncle or something, right? A natural relationship existed, and then those people would help you. Like, oh, I got a guy at work that's looking for somebody. I'll put your name in. It's almost like you're doing that, but now at a broader scale, because you're getting people's attention, and then you're able to like build a real relationship. You were never trying to sell them. You weren't looking for a job. You weren't being all like weird. It's just like, hey man, appreciate the connection. Thanks. And then you'd have some like message that actually looked into what they were doing, and they came back to you and they're like, yeah, Ryan, nice to meet you. And then you kept doing your thing. And then eventually like natural conversation, relationship happened. And that's what comes out of it. I think that's the key point is, grab the attention, but you were never trying to sell them something, get a job. Like you were never doing that.
No.
Ever.
And think about this too, man. When you and I went back where Honchos was kind of started in academics, we went back to University of Detroit and we co-instructed, we were professors together there. One of the things that we harped on the most, like immediately in the building of resumes, is like, hey, you can have a modern resume or you can have a classic resume. You're going to need it because the systems that exist today, and now we know this better than ever in the software space, but the systems that exist today that are 10 years old or 15 years old, they're going to have some character recognition and keywords that are going to go through and scan your resume for. You want that. You want to make sure you're hitting on that. But more importantly, and I think this is really key for college, especially early college, freshmen, sophomores, but even in high school, like if you go on LinkedIn and you build a profile that is, and we'll get into this another time too, but if you build a profile that catches some attention and it really shows personality rather than this static, like, flat line, like, yeah, I'm this and I'm that, and here's my list of accomplishments, you will stand out. And if you do that for 3, 4, 5 years up until leading, to when you're going to actually go out into the real world and start working, dude, think about the classes and the people that we talk to. 50% of the kids at University of Detroit Mercy in engineering class that we were instructing, I think it was like 63, 65 kids, half of them or more were like, I don't want to work in automotive. I want to work in tech. There's no way they're going to get there unless they can build a network that gives them the access that they need to the right people. And as you build that network and trust and do LinkedIn video or just go in and comment on people's posts and actually care and add value, that's the best way to like springboard into the career that you're looking for. And so many people, so many professionals, they still have that apprehension and they're a little bit nervous. They don't want to put themselves out there. And I think there's so much real estate that's waiting to be gobbled up on LinkedIn, and people just aren't. They're just not doing it.
And I'll add something to that. Like, this is kind of like what you were talking about. I think a lot of people are lazy. And I'm say to be blunt about it, but like, if you go on into a company's website and you submit your resume, you're now in a pile that's, for the camera, this tall, right? But if you go do some research on LinkedIn and you find a way to grab attention, you take interest in the person, you find out who they're connected to, and then you work around them, right? Then you can get put to the top of the pile, or maybe they'll just consider you only and not even look at the rest of the pile.
True.
And it makes a big, big difference. Think about the guy that contacted me and you last week looking for a job within our current company.
Yeah.
He went above and beyond to find people in Detroit in a space that he was looking for, saw us on LinkedIn, right? Again, like we're prevalent there. Yeah. He saw us, and then he called us and put the extra effort in to get me or you to submit his resume and recommend him in instead of just going on our company corporate website, submitting his resume and hoping for the best. Like I think in today's age, even though we have social media, a lot of people, especially I'd say even younger, hide behind the screen.
For sure.
You cannot replace human interaction, trust building, and like actual interaction with somebody. And I think that's the value of LinkedIn, because you're able to do that and grab attention with people, but do it through like the lens of social media, and then be a person in the background.
Yeah, it's just this like whole, it's this whole other layer that you can layer on top of yourself and like almost show the world who you are, your personality. Like there's been really quirky people, like some people would call me quirky, but like you don't have to be some extrovert that's like, look, I've got the best camera equipment in the world and I can make this quality look perfect. Like, right? Like there's ways and tutorials and people like us that would be willing to walk you through it. I mean, I guess let me pause there and say there has not been a single person on LinkedIn that has reached out to me to ask for help that I haven't helped in some way, right? In some way. And a lot of it initially was around camera equipment. It's like, here's what I'm using. Here's what my buddy Eric's using, DJ EJ. We're going to make that stick, bro. Here's my buddy Eric's using, right? And then here are other options if you just want to use your phone, and like here are the key things that you want to do. That is free, just free. It's like if people just reach out and say, "Hey, I love your quality, I love what you're doing. I want to get started. Can you help me?" Like I've got a call this week with a guy who actually works for NASA. I didn't even tell you this, but he.
NASA?
Yeah, like I don't know which part of NASA. I didn't do deep research, but we connected, and I connected back, and I saw he was looking at my profile. This is a perfect example for you if you want to learn something, folks. Like saw someone from NASA looking at my profile because of the videos we were putting out and how it it's exponential, it just grows. And then I reached out and said, thanks for connecting. I looked through his profile, saw that he was a man of faith too, and I was like, awesome. Like I genuinely want to connect with people that have faith, and like I love to talk about that stuff, and regardless of what you believe, I love to talk about it because I'm passionate about God and what he's done in my life. So I reached out and used that, and he's like, awesome, like why don't we connect? Like let's connect. So then we just found a time, and I can't remember the day, I don't have my calendar up, but sometime this week, like we're going to be connecting, and it's stuff like that. Like I don't know where it's going to go. I have no expectation other than let me help you, because he wants to get into video work. And we're talking about this right now for the first time, but I'm like, yeah, like I'll tell you what I've got. I'll tell you what works. Talk about budget. I'll give you some suggestions. And if I can help in any way, let me know. And sometimes people take you up on that.
All right. Let me pause you on this for a
Yeah.
second. I know I'm looking at my camera. We have 9 minutes till we both hit our record limit. Just a heads up.
Goes so fast.
I know I bring this up every video,
Goes
but
so fast, bro.
I know it does go so
love
fast.
it.
But I do think this is important for people that are listening. Might be something that's get more value out of this. Let's say like your NASA buddy, right?
Yep.
He wants to do this. People always focus on how do I start? What gear do I need? And I think there is some importance to that.
Sure.
But let me ask you, Ryan from Detroit, Mr. Hashtag Ryan from Detroit. What advice would you give to somebody that says, okay, Eric, DJ, EJ, and Ryan from Detroit, you've inspired me to start creating content on LinkedIn. What do I need to start? Like, how do I start? What would you tell them?
If you want to do video, let's focus on video for a second, right? If you want to do video, because there's still there's not only like you want to get confidence built as every video that you start producing and putting out, you get more and more confidence in a lot of ways, so that you get more comfortable with that. So I would say you've got to just start. The second thing is cell phone. Like, I kid you not, man, there's still some videos, and I will tell you this, one of my videos early on that hit over 100,000 views. You remember this one? I literally was riding the bike with my family, and all of a sudden it was like, boom, it started downpouring, like raining cats and dogs. And I was like, I was in the sales tip mentality at the time, so I literally whipped out my phone while I was on there, because I knew my phone was somewhat waterproof, and I just said, hey guys, Ryan from Detroit with the sales tip. Just letting you know that sometimes it's not you, it's just that your timing is off, right? And that was it. Like, just all of the elements coming together with my kids in there, like riding the bikes, and we're trudging through the rain, was all done on my cell phone. No one cared. No one cared.
But the point I'm getting to, I knew you were going to say this, or something like this, is that it's not the equipment. Now, you do have to like understand like how to frame yourself and how you look. Like there is something to that a little bit.
Yep.
But your message on that video, and I remember that video specifically, what resonated, because it was like your message was perfect, not the right time, and you're getting poured on. So like you were, and it was, you know what I'm saying? Like it was the message, it's your narrative, it's how you approach people. It's just getting out there and having like a presence of what you want to be on. I think that's why. I mean, if you would have waited to grab your big camera, you would have missed the moment.
It was out. It was gone.
If your message was like, oh, it's look at me, it's raining outside, you would have missed the message.
Yep.
But like you were in sales tip mentality, and you were like, sometimes your timing is just not right, and you're getting poured on. It was perfect.
Yeah, I would say this too. I do things. You and I talked about this too. Like, now I know how to edit, and everyone would look at the quality of the work that we did, right, and the camera quality, all this stuff. And they're like, even my own companies at the time, like in the past, were like sat me down, like, I got to talk to you. I was on a call. I'll tell you a story real quick. A global director I used to report to at a company. I won't say the name, but you can figure it out. We got in. I love the guy. Fantastic guy. Ended up moving down to Miami, became a CFO of a big company. Really fantastic guy, really passionate. We started talking one day when I was in Chicago, and everybody left the room. He's like, hey, I got to talk to you. And it was like 4 or 5 months into LinkedIn video. It was just booming. And he goes, I got to ask. I was on a conference call globally with some VPs, and they weren't talking about what we were supposed to be talking about. Everyone's saying, hey, why is your sales manager for North America on LinkedIn making videos? Like, they didn't get it. So he's like, I need to talk to you about it. And I said, look, man, I'm surprised you guys didn't ask me sooner. I said, and this is literally what I said to them. I was honest. I'm always honest. I said, you should be thankful for LinkedIn and the videos that I'm producing, because you and I know the crap that we're dealing with right now. And if I didn't have this outlet, I probably would have left already. Right. And I was being honest with them. And then I explained that it was like 4 months in. And as soon as I got into the middle of like, I was in the early adoption phase, he cut me off and he's like, you have to keep going. He's like, be smart about it. Like he's like, but you have to keep going. And it really blessed me because he really believed in what I was doing. But the point is, people aren't going to understand it. But what you need to do is you need to drive yourself to a place of discomfort, which is why most of those videos that Eric and I did, you can see that we're moving. We're not typically sitting like in a stale position. Like, we're trying to give context. We're trying to move. We're trying to make it fun and dynamic for ourselves and for the viewers. So I would say, of course, reach out to either one of us if you need help by any means. Happy to do it. We'll talk more about it later. But get uncomfortable and just start and find a cadence that works for you. But all of those videos that we'd produce, I kid you not, from record to publish, about 10 to 15 minutes of my time. And even though it looked like it took an hour to produce.
Yeah, most of them are recorded on the phone, edited on the phone. But to your point, and you got to be a little aware of, like, again, it is still LinkedIn. Like, you can't go out there and start saying a bunch of vulgar stuff or being inappropriate and expect your employer not to care. They're going to care.
Yep.
But if you're out there having fun and you're bringing a different dynamic to it, like that works, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that was where I was getting to was people are like, oh, what gear do I need? Yeah, we can level up your gear. We can talk about that.
For sure.
Like you and I both have extensive experience in
Absolutely.
gear. But it's more about like what brand do you want to present yourself as on there and what message do you want to deliver? And just consistency is the other one. And just the return on the back end and messaging people and talking with people. To me, that's like awesome. Even you've done it way more than I have, but the little bit I've done, it's been fun. Like people coming back saying, hey, great video, I loved it. Or even stuff I do on YouTube. They'll find me on Instagram through direct messages and be like, oh, ask me camera questions because that's what my YouTube channel is about. And I think that's the real power of social media. And if you leverage it like towards LinkedIn, that's what's awesome about it.
No, it really is fantastic. I mean, you and I get so much more out of doing these types of things, even though we try to give value to people. Obviously, it's all about internal, but internally we get so much more out of this than we would getting back. So it's really fantastic. How are we looking at time, brother?
Yeah. We got 3 minutes and 20 seconds until we run out.
All right, rapid
This
fire.
will be a theme on our podcast.
Rapid fire.
It helps us keep it closed.
Rapid fire, bro. I got questions for you.
All right, go.
All right, someone's been on LinkedIn or they're on Instagram. They're producing video content with their phone, and they're like, all right, you know what? I don't have a lot of money, but I want to go right now and buy something better. I want to level up. You've had like every camera known to man. So what do you suggest?
Yeah. Okay, if you got to keep it cheap and a lot of money, I would go 2 things are important. 3 things. Portability.
Yep.
Autofocus.
Yep.
Audio.
Audio.
So if you can find
Audio.
yourself.
Audio.
Yeah, audio right here.
Yep.
If you can find yourself like a cheap, like Canon M50, a cheap A6300, whatever they started putting the mic inputs in, whatever.
Yep.
But that's what I would say. Portability, because like to your phone video, if you didn't have your phone, like it wouldn't have worked. But even then, you can use your phone still and like do a mic thing on your phone. So I would say portability and audio and then autofocus are top 3. You have to focus on those things. Canon, Sony. I use Panasonic. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But Canon, Sony, and I don't know. That's probably the 2 I'd send you down.
Okay, I'll jump in and say on top of that, for me, buy used or open box. Like all of my equipment for the most part, I try to find stuff barely used, but it's like a car that depreciates. Like you get such a good value if you do that as well.
All my stuff's used. All of it.
Okay, second question. People want attention. They want to build a following. Where do they go? What do they do?
Oh, boy. Build a ton.
Instagram? Is it all in on LinkedIn? Pick one platform. What do you think?
I think in the interest of LinkedIn, I think you start there. I think you can get the most attention there quickly. I think Instagram's noisy. There's different algorithms. I think Twitter's noisy, but you can like leverage that to help connect those people more.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're present, like they might have a different presence on LinkedIn than they do on Twitter. So do that. But yeah, I would say LinkedIn, and then you got to like do a lot of work outside your videos to connect with people, so you're bringing more eyes in, right? Then you start having this exponential growth factor. We have 1 minute left.
All right, brother. Hey, this is fun. I know we're just getting started. We could just wrap it here. I mean, hey, give me a fist bump and the camera, bro. Pow.
Yep.
And then to everyone out there listening, throw some comments. We know we're just getting started, but throw some comments in our socials. Let us know what you want to talk about. Let us know if you like the LinkedIn banter. We've got plenty more of that. This is just barely scraping the surface, but we're going to keep coming up with topics. We'll get better at this, but we just appreciate all the support. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everything. We got to end this thing.
Yeah, thank you guys. Like Ryan said, come back for more LinkedIn questions. Hit us up, and we'll see you next time.
Concho me, bro.